James Madison football has done the unthinkable this season. As a team transitioning from the FCS level to the FBS level, the Dukes appeared in the AP Top 25 after starting the season 5-0. They beat App State on the road this season and are sitting at 7-3 with a 5-2 record in the Sun Belt at the time of recording. They should be playing for a spot in the Sun Belt title game this weekend against Coastal Carolina and should be a lock for a bowl game. Yet, they may not get the opportunity to play in either game, no matter the result, which may open the door for those in power to make a push for a rule change. But how did James Madison, a team that was playing at the FCS level last season, shock the world? And why does the NCAA need to change its rules? Stay tuned to find out. When it comes to football, James Madison has been one of the top FCS programs in the nation for many years. They won the 2004 and 2016 FCS titles and are one of two teams to have beaten North Dakota State in the FCS playoffs this past decade, with the other team being Sam Houston State, who will join the FBS in the future. Aside from perhaps South Dakota State, James Madison was the only FCS program that had proven it could hang with the Bison from the perspective of depth and physicality. North Dakota State remains the predominant FCS program, but James Madison was an obvious number two. The Dukes began playing football in 1972, just 5 years after then Madison College had become a co-educational institution. Football was the brainchild of Dr. Ronald Carrier, Madison's president at the time, who was attempting to change the psychology of the campus away from an all-women's teacher college. While they would go winless in 1972, they would go undefeated for the first time in 1975, winning the Virginia College Athletic Association title. In 1980, they made the jump from Division III to Division I AA. Under Mickey Matthews, they would win their first FCS title in 2004, becoming the first and only team to win 3 road games to advance to the title game. In December of 2013, Everett Withers became the head coach, and under his leadership, the Dukes hosted College Game Day in 2015. Then came Mike Houston, who led the Dukes to the promised land once again, winning the 2016 FCS title. The following year, they would make it back to the national title game, but would lose to North Dakota State 17-13. In Houston's final season as head coach, they would return to the FCS playoffs, losing in the second round. After the season, Houston accepted the head coaching position at East Carolina. Enter Kirk Cignetti. Cignetti had found success everywhere he coached, leading the Indiana University of Pennsylvania to a 53-17 record and leading Elon to back-to-back playoff appearances for the first time in program history with a 14-9 record. Before Cignetti had gotten there, the Phoenix had won a total of 11 games from 2012 to 2016, but he immediately turned the program around. He was also part of Nick Saban's first coaching staff at Alabama. While at Elon, he ended James Madison's 22-game CAA football winning streak and their 19-game home winning streak. Cignetti led James Madison to the national title game in 2019 and back-to-back semifinal appearances in 2020 and 2021, losing to North Dakota State and Sam Houston State during that time period in one-score games. In November of 2021, it was announced that James Madison football would jump to the FBS, joining the Sun Belt Conference prior to the 2023 football season. In response to this announcement, the All-Sports CAA announced that James Madison would be banned from the conference championships for the remainder of its time in the conference. This ban, though, did not apply to football because CAA football had no such provisions in its bylaws. Subsequently, James Madison announced they had finalized a departure from the CAA on February 2, 2022, and would join the FBS and the Sun Belt for the 2022-2023 season. James Madison's arrival in the FBS made the Dukes the second program after UCF to have played at all 4 current levels of NCAA football. They have 10 conference titles in program history, have 18 FCS playoff appearances, including 8 straight to close out their time at the level, put together a 33-5 record under Cignetti at the time of the transition, and have an overall program record of 356 wins and 220 losses. They were one of the premier FCS programs this past decade and were expected to be a force to be reckoned with after a few years at the FBS level. James Madison always knew this opportunity to join the FBS was a when, not an if situation, with athletic director Jeff Bourne telling ESPN, "The move is something we have always prepared for. It strategically felt like there would be a point in time when an opportunity would come along that made good sense to the university. And we had built our infrastructure to a point where we felt like once we did make the move, we could be competitive. We had modeled our infrastructure off of a lot of the Power 5 institutions with regard to student support centers. We just recently finished the construction of the Atlantic Union Bank Center, the home of their basketball program, and it includes a practice facility and full support operations for the teams. We've been watching what the fallout had been with Texas and Oklahoma, and we had anticipated that it was going to take some type of significant event to create opportunity at a level where it would be beneficial for James Madison to explore options. Up until this past year, it didn't seem very feasible because there wasn't really an ideal landing spot for us. This opportunity with the Sun Belt was fortuitous. We felt we were prepared and the timing was good, and the institutions they wanted to align with made it attractive for us. The program and fans were ready, and there was no hesitation to make the jump. The Dukes even saw a record high in ticket sales this past season. I'm happy to say I'm now working with Liquid IV, who sells amazing products. My favorite item of theirs is their energy drink mix, which helps give me that extra boost with my now hectic work and travel schedule. Use my code jrobrien at checkout or the link in the description below for 25% off your purchase this week and free shipping. And after this week, 15% off your purchase, and you will also be supporting the channel by doing so. Thank you again, Liquid IV. James Madison probably joined the toughest Group of 5 division in the Sun Belt East going into the season with teams like App State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia State, Marshall, Old Dominion, and Georgia Southern all together. Going into the season, according to The Athletic, James Madison was expected to finish 6th in the East, with Chris Vanini writing James Madison was one of the most consistent winners at the FCS level. But this was always going to be a transition year, even before the move up to the FBS. There's a quarterback battle, and the team's best receiver and defensive player transferred to Power 5 programs. There are reasons to be bullish about James Madison's FBS future, but the first season will be an adjustment. It's also notable that James Madison will play only 11 games, with a non-conference slate of Middle Tennessee, Norfolk State, and Louisville. The Athlon and media polls also predicted the Dukes to finish 6th in the conference as well. They weren't supposed to be in the position they put themselves into. While James Madison's schedule will not blow your socks off, what they have been able to do in their first year as an FBS program is extremely impressive. They went on the road and beat App State and Boone, coming back from a 28-3 deficit. An App State team that beat a then number 6 Texas A&M team on the road in College Station and pushed North Carolina to the edge in a 63-61 shootout in the season opener. They also blew out a Middle Tennessee State team in the season opener, a team that will be playing for a bowl game this season. They started the season 5-0 and were even ranked in the top 25 at one point. Back at the beginning of October, Bill Conley wrote, Kurt Cignetti's Dukes are ranked in their very first season in the FBS. They're unbeaten in the Sun Belt play, and they could be favored in every remaining conference game. The defense is allowing only 15 points per game, and Todd Centejo's 1,312 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and 1 interception has flawlessly piloted a strong offense. This is easily the best FBS debut since 2014, when Georgia Southern went 9-3. Their 3 losses are to teams that are either bowl eligible or on the verge of bowl eligibility, including a top 25 Louisville team. And in the Louisville loss, they were in the game until the 4th quarter. They also should be playing for a spot in the Sun Belt title game this weekend when they host Coastal Carolina. What they have done this season and who they've done it against is a feat that should be looked as extremely impressive and deserving of a bowl game invite. But why aren't they, at the time of recording, going to be allowed to play in either the conference title game nor a bowl game? Well, that is because of a somewhat flawed NCAA rule. The rulebook basically says every program that moves up to the Football Bowl subdivision is required to undergo a 2-year transition period. During this time, programs are ineligible to participate in postseason play. Shahan Jayaraja from CBS Sports writes, typically, this FCS to FBS postseason ban lasts 2 seasons. For Division II teams transitioning to Division I, the ban lasts a full 4 seasons. However, usually the first FBS transition season features a hybrid schedule featuring both FCS and FBS foes. Since the Dukes sped to a full Sun Belt schedule in 2022, James Madison will apply for a waiver to be eligible for postseason play in 2023. A team making the transition could go undefeated and blow everyone out, yet because of this rule, they may not even get to play in a bowl game. And the rule does make some sense, especially when you consider the television dollars that are guiding programs nowadays. Jayaraja goes on to write, it's intended as a buffer for programs transitioning without putting thought into their decision. Some teams have a great quarterback or a roster that could compete for a national acclaim. A transition to the FBS level is supposed to be a 50-year decision, not capitalize on one team. For every James Madison, there's a UMass. The Minutemen joined the MAC as a football-only school in 2011. During their 11 years at the FBS level, the Minutemen have finished with 1 or fewer wins 6 times and never gone better than 4-8. UMass left the MAC in 2016 and has floated around as an independent. I get the idea behind the rule, but this may be the second major college sports team this calendar year who should be competing in postseason play and a chance to win their conference title. Remember earlier this year when Bellarmine won the ASUN title by winning their conference tournament, yet they couldn't play in March Madness because they were in year 2 of their 4-year transition period from Division II to Division I? The Knights finished 14-8 with a 10-3 conference mark the year before, finishing second place in the conference. Last season, Bellarmine won 20 of its last 28 games after stacking its non-conference schedule with road games against the likes of Purdue, Gonzaga, UCLA, West Virginia, Murray State, and St. Mary's. These 2 case studies should cause a push for rule makers to rethink this rule. Not to change it, but to take a look at it, especially when you consider what Georgia Southern and App State were able to do in their first seasons as FBS programs. If there is sustained success at the lower levels, when a team goes to make the jump in levels, then maybe they should be excluded from the rule. Of the 15 schools that have moved from the FCS to FBS since 2002, only 3 have had winning records in their first year. Georgia Southern went 9-3, UTSA went 8-4, 5-4 against FBS opponents, and App State went 7-5. Meanwhile, Coastal Carolina went 3-9, Georgia State went 0-12, Western Kentucky went 2-10, Florida Atlantic went 2-9, and UMass went 1-11, while Charlotte went 2-10. If a program has won the FCS National Championship and has a certain winning percentage over a certain time period leading up to the transition, they should be eligible for a bowl game immediately. Georgia Southern won the FCS title in 1999 and 2000. App State won the title in 2005, 2006, and 2007. Sam Houston State, who will be making the transition soon, won the title in 2020, and like I already mentioned, James Madison won the FCS title both in 2004 and 2016. Western Kentucky is the only program to have won a national title this millennium at the FCS level and not found success at the FBS level their first season. What do you think? Should the NCAA look to revise its transition rules, and if so, how would you change them? So that explains why they can't play in a bowl game this year, but what about the conference title game? Well, that question has a simple answer. Due to not wanting to have a champion be bowl ineligible, the Sun Belt does not allow such teams to qualify for the conference title game. Yet all hope may not be lost for James Madison football and their fans. While the conference title game does not seem likely due to the Sun Belt officials already declaring that Coastal Carolina will represent the East in the title game, a bowl game may be possible. When asked if teams would order rings and raise an East Division flag at Bridgeforth Stadium if they win Saturday, Cignetti responded, "This team has done significant things this year and will always be a special team in JMU history to the people that support our program, that follow our program closely. Regardless of the outcome Saturday, our players will get nice rings, and our seniors will get nice stuff, their jersey framed, helmets, and stuff like that. We're going to take care of these guys. We want them to remember the season and feel really good about it." He also basically said you never know what might happen when it comes to bowl games. David Teal from the Richmond Times-Dispatch wrote earlier this week, "Well, James Madison Athletic Director Jeff Bourne has long said the school will petition the NCAA to have the Dukes transition penance to 1 year. When James Madison opened the season 5-0 and cracked the Associated Press Top 25, Bourne said he would ask the NCAA to make the team bowl eligible this year. No matter the Dukes' credentials, however, an exemption from the NCAA is a pipe dream, and everyone at James Madison knows it. But what if there aren't 82 eligible teams to fill the 41 bowl spots? Well, then things get very interesting. Going into this weekend, there are 74 teams that meet the criteria of at least 6 wins to make a bowl game. Teal goes on to write, the Georgia Southern App State winner will make it 75. 13 other teams are 1 victory shy. Miami, Georgia Tech, Michigan State, Florida Atlantic, Texas El Paso, Rice, UAB, Buffalo, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Southern Miss, and Louisiana. If at least 7 of those 13 don't become bowl eligible, they will likely dip into the 5 and 7 teams based on academic progress rates, even with James Madison at 7-4 or 8-3. If at least 9 are in eligibility, ESPN Events has the option to create a 40-second bowl. Teal also goes on to write, a quick aside. Myrtle Beach Bowl on December 19th is among the postseason options for Liberty, who's 8-3 entering Saturday's home game against New Mexico State. And pitting the Flames against the Dukes is a de facto state championship game accessible to both fan bases, and would be postseason gold. Cignetti broke into a sly grin when Teal asked whether he truly harbors thoughts of the NCAA freeing the Dukes from transition purgatory if enough teams aren't bowl eligible. Yet he answered that he is only going to focus on Saturday's game, now saying, "My focus is strictly on Saturday's football game. But the only thing certain in life is death and taxes. Other than that, there's possibilities of anything." Personally, I hope James Madison is given the opportunity to play in a bowl game this year. This team has been special to watch, and with college football going through a massive transition phase, and the idea of a 5-7 team making a bowl game over James Madison, I say give the Dukes a shot. What do you think? Should James Madison get the opportunity to play in a bowl game, and should the NCAA reconsider the rules for teams making a transition to another level? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos right here. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more college football content. Thank you so much for watching. I could not be more thankful for y'all. You guys make this all possible for me. And as always, remember to embrace the grind.